My name is Jeff Staple. I'm here today to answer your questions from Twitter. This is Sneaker Support. Heel Will Mahoney asks, still waiting for it to be proven conclusively who had the superior shoe technology, Nike Air or Reebok Pump. They do different things. Nike Air, Visible Air, Reebok Pump right over here. Nike Air, this Visible Air unit that you see that on this particular shoe is completely crazy and next level, is a cushioning performance element. It supports your heel strike so that every time you pound your foot on the pavement, it's more and more comfortable. Pump does something a little bit different. Pump inflates a bladder on the top of your shoe and locks your foot down. So it's kind of like a replacement to shoelaces. So it's kind of hard to really compare, but if you're looking at dollars as a metric, then I would say Nike Air fully did the Mortal Kombat death blow to Reebok Pump. Jess Angs asks, why are Air Jordans so popular? Air Jordan, in case you don't know, is a separate brand that is actually owned by Nike. Similar to Converse. Converse is also a separate brand owned by Nike. If Air Jordan were separated out of Nike and made its own company, it would still be a top 5 brand in the entire world. Why are they so popular? Michael Jordan is the GOAT. There's plenty of great basketball players that are around. Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, rest in peace. We all know the greats. If you look at sneaker sales of all of these athletes, it really proves who the actual GOAT is. Alicia Forgione has asked, real question, are sneakers cool because of the name brand or because of the actual design of the shoe? I would like to think it's design still, but I know the hype is real. Recently, Payless Shoe Source did an experiment where they took a store in a mall and created a high-end luxury brand image and then just put Payless shoe product in that store, and people were chomping it up. They were just eating it like crazy. They loved it. And it was really an interesting social experiment because it showed the smoke and mirrors of branding can overcome the actual footwear design. Jay Took Stock says, designers, what's a good way to improve my logo design? I feel like the courses I find don't align to the styles of sneaker Twitter. There's a couple of different ways to approach logo designs. Some of the early logo designs, such as Adidas and the 3 stripes and the New Balance N, the logo originally was stitched fabric or leather onto the side of your shoe. So when those 3 stripes come across the medial and lateral side of your foot, they're actually offering extra support. And then you've got logos that are just purely ornamental. A great example of that is the Nike Air Jordan Jumpman logo. That is actually not an easy logo to work with, like a little human being that you have to place around. It's obviously one of the most important logos of all time. So that being said, your logo that you're designing for your shoe can pretty much be anything. It could start with form, function, what does it do for me and my fit, or it could be strictly ornamental, it could be your signature. Make sure it's something that you can really believe in and live with long term, and it'll be a good logo for you. Soles and Laces asks, is nostalgia hindering design innovation in the sneaker industry? This is a hot take. I'm warning you now. I think the answer is yes. What Soles and Laces is talking about is, for example, the Air Jordan 1 is still one of the most popular shoes out of all time in the year 2023, even though this shoe is damn near 3 decades plus old. When you're making bajillions of dollars off of this old shoe, why do you need to spend resource, energy, and time into making new shoes? We could just put different colors on this old shoe and we're good to go. We'll make a couple more $1 billion, right? I think if someone were to be like a rude parent and was like, no more Air Jordan 1. You now have to think of the new thing. We're not gonna survive unless you think of the greatest Air Jordan 40 ever. Then I think the Air Jordan 40 is gonna be better than if you had the Air Jordan 1 making billions of dollars for you. Jasmine Kiona asks, ever wonder what goes into the shoemaking process? Emoji. Most sneaker designers want to start at the bottom to the top to the outside. So what I mean by that is usually start at the outsole. The reason why is because the outsole is the most complicated part to make. So once you have this done, then you could start working on the upper. And the upper can change. It could be different materials. It could be different shapes. So for instance, if you don't like this piece here anymore in the first design and you want to change that piece, as long as you've got your bottom done, it's much easier to do that. So you're working your way up to the top. Once you've got your uppers done, this is called the upper, then you've got your accoutrements, such as your laces, things like tongue label logo, the logo hit on the side, prints on the back. These are all different elements that help identify and make a shoe unique and special. Christy Moffat asks, for those of us who know absolutely nothing about sneaker culture but want to learn, where's a good place to start? There are a couple of really good documentaries out now that are really, really well made. One is made by David Friendly called Sneaker Heads. And then the other movie that's out is called Just for Kicks. You watch them, you're gonna get a really good understanding of sneaker culture, and you'll see a lot more of me in them too. All right, Bugs Meany asks, how did sneaker culture go from OG 80s Air Jordans, one of the dopest designs in human history, to these things that look like condoms for aliens? That's not a shoe, that's a fossilized slug. This is what is important for sneaker designers to understand. When this shoe came out in the 80s and 90s, this shoe was literally banned from the NBA. Michael Jordan was fined $5,000 a game for wearing this shoe. And the stakeholders at the NBA said, this is too crazy, too ugly, and violates all the rules of the NBA. We are fining you every time you wear this shoe. So as a designer, you have to put yourself and zoom out and say, something that actually polarizes me today may be a staple tomorrow, right? So 40 years from now, these alien condoms may be a classic staple in the future for your children or grandchildren. Nell Buzzin asks, when it comes to fashion and sneakers, what does Hypebeast mean? Somebody who, depends on who you're asking, maybe cares a little bit too much about fashion and footwear. That's what a Hypebeast is. If you find yourself buying doubles of things so that you can keep one to rock and keep one to stock, or AKA keep on ice, you might be a Hypebeast. If you find yourself wearing a pair of shoes on a rainy day and then when you come home, you sacrifice your own toothbrush to clean a pair of shoes, you might be a Hypebeast there too. Hypebeast kind of has a negative derogatory term in this day and age. I still love it. I still think Hypebeast just means people who really care about the origin story and why things are made. They care about all the details, they cherish them, and they savor it. All right, by Brandon White has asked, how do big brand sneaker collaborations work? What's the process like as a designer? Are they pitching you an idea or vice versa? It kind of goes all different ways. If you're a lesser known designer and you have an idea, you're probably gonna be knocking on doors, trying to get your ideas brought to light. I would advise maybe getting into the footwear industry in any aspect. Another way that's been really popular as of late is individuals, and if you've got the chops and the skills to do this, they start making a name for themselves online, on social media. They create these really cool things. It doesn't even have to be real things. They could just be renderings that you're posting, and they start tagging the brands that they really like. There are people that work at footwear brands whose sole job it is to look on social media for the next talent. So if you tag these people enough and they're like, yo, this guy's actually really got skills, you will get that phone call, or hopefully they slide into your DMs. All right, Loves Ace asks, I just want to know how people be wearing Chuck Taylors like they're comfortable. I must agree with you there. I have a shoe here by Fayway. The bottom of this Fayway is very similar to the bottom of a Chuck Taylor. I don't find them comfortable. I think it's definitely a fashion over form type thing. People like the look of a Chuck Taylor. And in fact, if you go to your local gym, you probably see a lot of people doing deadlifts and squats in Chuck Taylors. It's because the Chuck Taylor is so flat to the ground. There's no arch support whatsoever, but when you're lifting heavy weights, you actually don't want arch support. You actually basically want to be barefoot. But the next closest thing to that is the Chuck Taylor. JBK Mac asks, what makes an iconic sneaker? The colorway or the cut? Actually, Jay, it's neither. You know what makes an iconic sneaker? You. You at home, buying shoes, wearing shoes, talking about shoes online. You are the people that makes a shoe an icon. A designer cannot do that, an influencer cannot do that, and an athlete cannot do that. And I can prove that by counting the number of athletes, designers, and influencers that put out shoes that don't mean crap in the world. It's only the public that can determine what makes a shoe an icon. Marky Mark asks, did the resale sneaker market crash yet? This is a very topical question because yes, the sneaker market right now is starting to decline and crash. Currently, I think the sneaker brands have sort of wised up and said, hey, we're making too little amount of shoes. There's too much resell. It's too hard for people to just walk into a store and buy shoes. So they're ramping up production to meet the demand. They're overproducing right now, and what's happening is shoes are sitting, meaning you can actually go on Foot Locker, go onto any app, and just sort of buy the shoes that you want really easily in the size that you want at the price that was originally charged for. And what that means is that the resale market is beginning to crash and decline. Land's Dead asks, Nike is developing the power laces from Back to the Future. How? Gotta see this. That is right. This is what's known as the Air Mag. Marty McFly strapped these on, Back to the Future 2. Auto lacing was born, but then Nike decided to start realizing how this could maybe become a reality. It's called Nike Hyper Adapt. That is the new name for auto lacing. It is actually connected to your smartphone. It is also connected to either Alexa or Siri. You could literally walk home and say, hey Siri, unlace my shoes. They will unlace and you could just kick them off. You can say, hey Siri, I'm about to go into game. It'll tighten it up for you. It's pretty amazing. So shout out to Nike for actually making power laces a real thing. Garrison Studio, my homies out in Philly, asked, what materials do you want to see more of in sneaker design? I really am loving what's happening with knit shoes. So as you can see, traditional sneakers are using leather, nubucks, and suede. More modern shoes like this one is a completely knit uppers. And you can actually knit a high top, a mid top. You can knit these patterns in it. You can make it all different sort of funky colors. You can even knit in eye lace stays and holes so that your laces can loop into it. There's much less waste. It's much better for the environment. It's also much more customizable. You could also do different knit densities, so you could have areas that are like tighter on your foot and looser on your foot to sort of mimic what's going on a traditional sneaker. So I really am hopeful for the innovation and future of knit footwear design. JD Sports asks, wow, JD Sports. What up, JD Sports? You're a big store. If you could only wear one pair of sneakers, what are you picking? People might even say this is not a pair of sneakers, but I think it is now. I would wear Crocs if I had to pick one pair of shoes for the rest of my life because these are damn comfortable. I think during COVID, Crocs really gained the benefit because people just started wearing these at home all the time, then to walk their dog, then before you know it, they're going to the supermarket in Crocs, then they're going to the mall in Crocs, and before you know it, they're going on first dates and weddings in Crocs. It just became like a thing, and there's no turning back. All right, that's all the questions. Hope you had fun. Hope you learned something. Until next time.